Because that's the beauty with this business model, is that like, because the work we're doing now is the same work that we'd be doing if we had 3 million subscribers, we were spending more and more money, but our engagement was going down on the newsletter. And I was like, why the hell is this happening? So we kind of hit the jackpot there, where we're hitting those two verticals at the same time.
How did these two guys build a profitable business idea newsletter that has grown to over 35,000 daily readers in just a year, all while working 9 to 5? In this video, Daragh Lucey shares the secrets of how he and John O'Keefe built the Half-Baked newsletter into a 6-figure business, how they're monetizing it, and how they're scaling it all the way to 1 million readers. But first, how did they start? Well, Daragh and John met working together at a startup, and they quickly realized they both love talking about startups, enough to turn that into a content business. With a background in video creation and YouTube, their first attempt was faceless videos on YouTube, but it didn't take long for them to run into a big bottleneck with their approach.
We had, like millions of views, and it was a lot of work, but we were getting it back. But we quickly realized that though we were building distribution, the distribution wasn't ours. And because we were at the mercy of the YouTube algorithm, or staying relevant, we quickly realized that our master plan of starting an empire off of YouTube channels probably wasn't the best way to go about it.
It's easy to rack up a load of views on YouTube, but those views weren't translating into an owned audience of people who Daragh and John could sell products to in the future. To fix this, the guys needed to go back to the drawing board and find a way to really own their audience connection. And luckily, it didn't take them long.
I traveled last year for a year with my now wife, and one day I was in Mexico and John rang me and said, I have an idea for a newsletter that we can start. We love the idea of newsletters because the cost of replication is incredibly low. The audience is yours, and there is a huge amount of opportunity to monetize outside of just the newsletter business model, which already in itself is an amazing business model to start with. And ironically, he said the idea I had is a business idea newsletter, because I was quite heavily involved in helping people start YouTube channels at the time, all around ideas. John just happens to be an absolute psychopath when it comes to coming up with business ideas, and that fit quite nicely, and we decided to start a business idea newsletter.
That idea for a business idea newsletter turned into Half-Baked. It's a daily dose of fun startup ideas straight into your inbox, and it's perfect for wannabe entrepreneurs looking for inspiration. Compared to relying on a YouTube channel for content creation, the newsletter model checked off 3 big boxes for Daragh and John. Number 1, you can reach your entire audience whenever you like, just by sending an email. Number 2, the work scales up. It takes the exact same time to write a newsletter for 5 people as it does for 5 million. And 3, newsletters have so many proven ways to monetize them. Like Morning Brew, growing to $20 million in revenue each year just by selling ads in their newsletter. Or The Hustle, hitting 7 figures with a paid membership. Looking back, it's easy to explain why newsletters can be such a smart business model. But did the Half-Baked team know this in advance? Or did they just get lucky?
How much of that was sort of solidified in both of your minds, sort of as you were like kicking off the newsletter? Was there like a plan going in and like a hypothesis, or was this like a make it up as you go along kind of thing?
100% intentional and 100% planned. The idea and the concept that you're looking at and intending on starting is, in my mind, the most important decision that you're going to make in the entire process. The reason being is because what you're looking to develop determines what your audience is, how much they're going to pay for the newsletter if it's going to be charged, or how much they're going to click on ads if it's not going to be charged, who those ads are actually targeted to. If you want to develop products afterwards, what kind of products are you going to develop for them? So for us, myself and John were already very heavily involved in the startup entrepreneurship ecosystem. We bloody love it. And it just so happens that the people in that ecosystem are people that we want to sell tools that we partner with for our partners, and also develop tools for them as we progress with the audience.
I love how intentional Daragh and John were with their newsletter planning. So many people who try and launch a newsletter business fail because their idea never had any potential to begin with. And Daragh avoided that by asking himself 3 questions before jumping into the newsletter. Step 1 was to determine the goal of the newsletter. For example, do you want it to be a cash flow machine? Or phase 1 for launching an empire of products like Daragh and John? Step 2 was to identify the audience. Who exactly are you making the newsletter for? And step 3 is to answer the question, does the audience have a need that you can fulfill with the newsletter? If the answer's no, it's probably time to go back to the drawing board.
If the answer is yes, but there's 100 other people doing it, which is probably going to be very likely, you need to say like, what is the reason that people are going to read my newsletter as opposed to their newsletter? And unless it's really compelling, it's probably not compelling enough. So you need to figure out what angle do you need to go at to kind of like get that traction. And thereafter, you just need to start. Once you like have clarity on those things first, everything else will fall into place, because regardless of how fast you're growing or how slow you're growing or how good the content is or how bad the content is, you've built the newsletter on a foundation that's not going to subside.
So what about the competition? What makes the half-baked newsletter stand out from hundreds of similar, less successful newsletters?
I tend to see newsletters, they really have sort of 3 ways of providing value, I think, or 3 buckets of like education, information, or entertainment, basically. And normally it's a mix of 3. I think if you came in from the outside and you say, oh, it's business ideas, like the value is in the idea. Would you say that's why people read, or is it more about the entertainment?
What it seems to be is that people use our newsletter and view our newsletter as a source of inspiration and motivation. And it's less about like having that idea that's going to work. It's more about the thought chain that occurs once you see that idea, and you kind of learn how to think from there. And then the entertainment side does blend in other ways, because like John writes in an incredibly funny, unique style.
All the best newsletter operators I know have one thing in common. They really understand their audience, and the guys from Half Baked are no different. They realized pretty quickly that only a tiny percentage of readers were actually working on their own startup idea already. The majority were still working in high-paid tech jobs, not quite ready to make the leap into running a startup of their own just yet.
A fair portion of them intend to start one in the next kind of 12 months, but the majority of them are people in tech companies in leadership positions that actually have the ability to make decisions whilst building something on the side.
And that insight is key, because it makes selling advertising in the newsletter so much easier.
Just so happens that B2B SaaS companies and other kind of like business-to-business based tools have a lot of money to throw at newsletters. So we kind of hit the jackpot there, where we're hitting those 2 verticals at the same time.
So let's get down to the real details. How did the Half-Baked guys actually grow and monetize their newsletter? Well, before going public, Daragh and John did something super smart.
So what we did before we got any newsletters is that we got a test set of about 15 people that we knew to subscribe to the newsletter, and actually like them to get the emails for the week and then give feedback before we put it out in the world.
Then, once they were confident the newsletter was pretty good, it was time to launch.
The next subscribers came from my YouTube channel. So I had a YouTube channel, I was pretty active at the time. And I think we definitely got over 1,000 subscribers from that.
This initial 1,000 readers was a great validation that people wanted to sign up to the newsletter and that they loved the content. So it was time to pour some fuel on the fire and grow. Daragh and John bit the bullet and each invested $10,000 into paid ads to grow the newsletter. And with subscribers rolling in from meta ads, they made a big mistake that could have ruined everything.
We ran a meta campaign for about 2 months, and we were acquiring subscribers for about 50 cents. And it was amazing. I was churning up that dial. It was going up and up and up. We were spending more and more money, but our engagement was going down on the newsletter. And I was like, why the hell is this happening? And then I came to realize that because we were using Facebook's auto target feature, all the people that were subscribing were 60-year-old females. And, you know, they're not exactly the kind of audience we're looking for. We're mainly looking for 18 to 45-year-old males. So we changed that. The cost per subscriber went up. But the engagement also then went way up.
This is super common with first-time newsletter operators. It's so tempting to try and get subscribers as cheaply as possible. But there's a reason that no other companies are competing with you for those subscribers, even at cheap prices. It's because they won't turn into valuable subscribers who read your newsletter, buy your products, and who advertisers want to reach. And talking of advertisers, that's how Half-Baked makes money right now. At 2,000 subscribers, they locked in their first newsletter sponsor, who paid upfront to sponsor 6 editions of the newsletter all at once. And now they're up to thousands of dollars in sponsorships every month, And all of that money, every single penny, gets invested straight back into growth. It's a simple model, but super effective. Already, they're at over 35,000 readers, and soon, with the exact same playbook, they'll be up to hundreds of thousands, with millions of dollars in revenue. But Daragh and John were quick to identify something that makes newsletters such an awesome business opportunity: the way that you can build products and services on top of your newsletter audience. And it's these moonshots, like launching a paid community, their own software products, or even an investing platform, that could transform Half-Baked from a nice, profitable lifestyle business into an opportunity to build generational wealth.
I think ultimately, Lewis, the thing I'm most excited for is building an empire off of the newsletter. Like, it's about, going for those moonshot goals. The reason we chose a newsletter is because the business model is so simple. Like, you can't fuck it up. It is advertising, and advertising has been around for hundreds of years, right? So we are doing the opposite of reinventing the wheel. But the thing I'm most excited for is getting to the point where we can reinvent the wheel, but not risk the house to do so.
And if you're ready to build a profitable newsletter of your own, in just 28 days, exactly like Daragh and John did, watch this video right here.